In this clip, we're going to take a look at how we can debug our player animation script. So right now, we know that we're on the right track. We are getting some sort of response from the player object. It is animating, but it will only animate if we're moving in a positive direction. So let's go ahead and hit play really quickly just to recap what is happening here. So if I were to left click, you'll see that it begins to run and move, and it goes exactly where it's meant to go. It looks great. However, if we decided to come back, you'll notice that he's still animating, but the nav mesh is still pushing the character around. So we have a mismatch in behavior. It's moving, but it's not animating correctly. And we figured out that in the last lesson that the z value that we're checking in the vector is negative whenever we are pushing back here. So what is actually happening? Let's take a look at the script. So by using navmeshagent.velocity, we are actually checking for the vector3 value in world space. So we're checking the x, the y, and the z. And so obviously it's going to give us a positive value if we're going in a positive direction. But then it will also give us the negative value because, again, it's in world space. And so what I want to do is I don't necessarily want to check the velocity of the object. I want to really just check the displacement of the object. So meaning where it is in its current state to where it's going, it has to check the intervals in between that. And so we can actually use the magnitude of the velocity to always get a positive direction or a positive value. Let me say that. So instead of using velocity.z, let's just simply use velocity.magnitude. Now, in this case, we can leave our print and let's actually change it to magnitude so that way we know exactly what we're getting when we play this. And so let's back out and let's hit play. And now let's go ahead and click on a point here. And you'll see that we are moving just as it should. And we are getting these values that are printing out. We're getting these low values to start out with, and then they gradually decrease. So if we started out at the top, you would see that we are starting out at 0, and then we click, and it starts to slowly move, and we're getting up to maybe about 3, and then it really starts to take off at 5. Now you'll notice that that is matching the speed of our NavMesh agent. And so the NavMesh speed, okay, that value is the top speed of our NavMesh agent. And so the magnitude doesn't get much higher than that itself. And so what I could do is now come in and take a look at our animator, double click on the locomotion state, and here's our blend tree. Instead of putting it at a value of 0.3 for the walk, let's put it at a value of 3, but then we'll take our top speed for our run at 5. So once it hits that point, we should really be in a full-on sprint. Maybe we could take this to 2.5. Maybe we could go ahead and just even it out and get a nice blend in between those values. So let's go to our scene. Let's hit play. And then whenever we click, we get a little bit of a walk, and then it goes right into the run. Checking those values again, we're right at 5. However, with that run animation, I just don't feel like it's really fast enough, and we're not getting there. So what we can do is go ahead and change the value of our NavMesh agent. So let's select the object. Let's change the speed. Let's go up to maybe 8 on that value. And then we'll have to change that in the animator as well. So on the blend tree, let's change the top speed to 8. And then let's do the walk at a value of 4. And I'm just dividing that by 2 just to get a feel for it. Let's hit play. And let's go ahead and click. You'll see that it walks and then it blends into that. And then comes to a halt. Now it is trying to blend in between those values, and you'll see that we are stopping here. Now it's good to go ahead and just clear everything whenever you're testing this, so that way you can see exactly what is happening here. So starting out 0.0, going up to 1, we quickly get to 4, and then it really starts to escalate into those values. So we might even take this walk value up a little bit if we wanted it to walk a little bit longer. So we can change that here, but remember, any changes that we make, it's not going to update like that. So we can see that this looks pretty good. It's still a little jerky. It's not as smooth as I would like it to be. But I feel like we're getting somewhere a little bit closer. Now that speed is causing the run to, we can really reach it pretty quickly. We might even increase this to maybe 9 on that. Now I know we can't actually get to a value of 9, but we can kind of see how that's going there. Let's maybe do 8.25. And so now we're not really getting into a full-on run quite yet, but we're starting to get close. And you can see that this is starting to feel a little bit better. Now the longer distances that we go, we can really get into that run. And so now it's just a matter of time of just kind of playing with some of the values and getting that to feel good. Now we've taken a look at several different aspects of animation inside of Unity and using the animator to do that. We've looked at how we can use parameters, and at first we used a very simple way of creating animation, but then we moved into blend trees, which can really help us to create smoother types of animations. Now this is a very simple blend tree. Blend trees can get very complicated whenever we start talking about jumps and how we're going to animate those. And I would really suggest that you take a look at the Unity Animation Fundamentals course and really just dive deep into all of the different things that you can do with Unity's animator components. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on into our next module.